Hey everybody, this is Khara Brindle, co-founder of the Empowerment Model, co-owner of Supervisionary, here for another role play video. I have Jenny with us today. Hi, Jenny. So we are
Hello.
going to do a role play on the FIT process, the consult call that happens before a group supervision experience with a supervisee. Jenny, before we jump in, anything you want folks to know about you as the new face to the series?
Oh, well, I really enjoy clinical supervision. I've definitely stumbled into a passion and I really, really enjoy it. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so by the time we're done watching this video, viewers, you'll have a sense of Jenny's style. We'll make sure you know what her contact info is if you have follow-up questions or want to work with her in any capacity. She's done some great things. But for now, Jenny's going to be the supervisor. I will play the role of supervisee. We're just going to see her style and just one of many examples of what it looks like to engage a potential supervisee on fit for supervision. So, Jenny, when you're ready.
Okay. Well, thank you, Kara, for meeting. I appreciate that you filled out the paperwork on the portal before our consultation call. I want to be respectful of both of our time, so we'll keep this around 15, 20 minutes. The goal today is to make sure we're a good fit for each other. I want to make sure you're a good fit for my practice and how I do clinical supervision, and I also want to make sure I'm what you're looking for as a supervisee. So I see here that you graduated from DU.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
That's right.
And you're currently working community mental health.
Hmm. Yes.
What's your niche? What's your population that you're most commonly seeing?
Oh gosh. Well, this agency is all about open abuse neglect cases. We're really involved with Department of Human Services, sometimes probation, but mostly just like navigating that system, which is never boring, as my current supervisor likes to say, but like just looking for a little bit more support. It's a tough population sometimes.
A lot of trauma. A lot of trauma. Is that what brought you to me? Is because I specialize in trauma.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to learn from someone who's more trauma informed. My current supervisor is kind of new to supervision, and even though they have a lot of great skills, they were my colleagues, so it just feels a little bit awkward. I don't really get a choice, right? It's an agency, they tell you who supervises you, but I think I'm looking for something a little bit different and maybe just in tandem with that obligatory supervision requirement.
That makes sense. As we know, trauma isn't a modality, it's a framework. And that framework is multidimensional and changes based on our role as a clinician, the population we're serving, the space that we're working in. There's a lot of considerations, and we do that in group. We talk about all of those considerations and how multidimensional the trauma-informed approach is. Okay, that's good to know. What um what are you looking for in a supervisor
Yeah, I mean, other
outside of your
than
agency?
yeah, I was just say, other than I have one, but looking for more. I want someone who can hold me accountable, help me grow, obviously have this trauma-informed lens that I think is so applicable to the population we're serving. Someone who can help me identify transference and countertransference, because,
Mm,
I think being still new to the field, I don't know what I don't know. So someone who can do that, but come at it with maybe some gentleness, not just like, you're doing it wrong. I don't think
yes.
that would work well for my very young ego in the field.
Doesn't work for anybody. Doesn't work for anybody. What is your, now, are you getting on-site supervision? And are you
Hmm.
wanting this as supplemental?
Yes, exactly. So I get right now we're doing biweekly, so we're doing 1 hour of individual supervision every 2 weeks. And right now that looks mostly like going over notes and paperwork because we have to file these reports for DHS. So I don't really feel like I'm getting to staff the cases as much as I want to.
The
But
clinical
also
side.
we don't have a group in the agency. So like the fact that you offer group supervision
Mhm.
is something I absolutely want to hear about too.
Yes, the power of group is really important. Our groups have clinicians from all over the place, not just outpatient mental health, but we have different agencies, different experiences, clinical case management. There's a lot of benefit in hearing other people's cases and other people's struggles and how they're navigating those environments. Sometimes
Right.
our work can feel quite isolating, can't it?
Hmm.
Okay, so you're at community mental health. You're just doing outpatient psychotherapy. Are you doing groups or
Nope.
parenting
Just
support?
individual and family work. Sometimes we're given permission to see them in the community. Most of the time, they're coming to the agency itself. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think there's probably a little bit of a wraparound component of just coordinating with their other services, but mostly individual and family.
Perfect. Okay. And your supervisor on site will be doing all of the documentation, Medicaid compliant, you're working Medicaid population.
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Perfect. So that sounds like a good fit for group supervision. As your group supervisor, I'm not able to go over treatment plans and do notes and Medicaid compliance in that regard. So I'm glad that you have coverage on site for that. So that's good. You get to join group and just do the clinical stuff, right?
That's
This
what
the
I
trauma
want.
informed
Yay.
stuff. Yes, perfect. Okay. So my groups are 90 minutes and they're on Wednesday mornings. Is that something a time commitment that you can commit to?
Yeah, I think because I get to set the schedule with the clients, I'll just block out that time so I don't double book myself. Is this like through virtual or do I need to come to your office for that?
We do virtual.
Okay,
Yep, we do
awesome.
virtual. How does your current supervisor feel about you having an offsite supervisor? Have you navigated that with them?
I started to broach it. I really wanted to come back to them once I found a fit and some logistics where I could be like, here's my time commitment. Here's the day and time I would be doing this, especially because it's group versus individual. I would hope they'd be supportive. They also feel swamped at this agency. There's just a lot going on and it's very administrative. And so I would hope I'd have their blessing. But yeah, I guess a good takeaway is regardless of how this conversation goes, is to let them know like I'm seriously looking, I'm interviewing.
Perfect. Good, good, good. Okay. So just surface level, I think we're a pretty good fit. My style can be a little bit different from other supervisors' styles. I'm a clinical social worker, so my style in supervision is reflective of an anti-oppressive and intersectional perspective. So we do a lot of deconstruction. We integrate our own cultural understandings. We're looking at our own biases, both implicit and explicit, and how those can show up in the clinical space. Let's see, what else feels important to name? There's always the feminist approach as well, and the cultural sensitivity piece and cultural adaptivity piece, how we are adapting culturally is very important, and being aware of our own intersections and others as well. That can feel a little different from other supervisors, and that can feel a little uncomfortable for some folks. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing only what I know from what you've shared, it sounds like it would be a growth opportunity to like look at kind of my own stuff. I feel like that works really well into my goal of working on transference and counter transference. I also have the thought that a lot of the clients I work with are of diverse backgrounds, not
Mm,
necessarily from the same place, SES privilege that I have. And so I think that could be really helpful. Um, I imagine part of this is just like creating safety with the group so that people can share. Or I guess that's a question that's coming up is what does that 90 minutes look like
yes.
every time?
So let's talk about my next question is what questions do you have for me? So
Oh,
that's
okay.
perfect segue. So it's a 90-minute group, and I cap it at between 6 and 8. And I keep a pulse on what that looks like if we need a smaller group or a bigger group, depending on the experience in the room. Um, and we do one of two things typically. I open up group and I'll say something like, do we want to do individual case consultations today? Do we have specific things that we want to talk about? Or is there a theme? Last group, one of the themes that came up were clients that were getting stuck because they have low self-esteem and low um, self-worth, and how that was really impacting their progress in the therapeutic progress, like getting progress. They felt stuck, they felt capped.
Hmm.
And that was a theme that was coming up for many people. So we spent an hour just talking about that and the implications of that. We also address ethical things. If there are things showing up in your agency that feel uncomfortable or you don't feel are on the up and up, we talk about that in group. Um, we talk about code of ethics. We get political. my group can tend to, the political element is everything we do as mental health providers is political.
Mm.
And keeping a pulse on that is important. So that macro level is something that also gets worked into group. All to say, group each week can be very, very different, but ultimately engaging and interesting. And ideally, you have the time and space in every group to bring what you need to bring to group.
Mm. Okay.
What other
Yeah.
questions do you have for me?
I mean, I guess since I'm only about a year into the work, are there people in the group right now that are in similar places? I know you said they all have different locations, but
Mm.
I guess I'm having a little bit of worry that I'll be like the youngest, greenest
Oh,
person.
mm.
I don't know why that's showing up, but it is.
It's valid though, isn't it? It's valid, especially when we don't know what we're walking into.
Mhm.
No. Yes and no. So I have supervisees that graduated 30 seconds ago. I have supervisees who graduated 20 years ago and decided that now is the time to get their clinical license. So across the board, I have a very diverse group of supervisees. So you'll probably fit right, being a year out of grad school, working in community mental health, you're probably right smack in the middle.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
definitely am interested in giving this a shot. I don't know if that's like a thing where I get to like come
Mhm.
in and see. Is there a structure to that or expectation from you of how I start off or check in on how it's going?
So I offer a 8 session package.
Okay.
So how we do it, I do contract supervision for Colorado LCSW supervision. Um, so what that looks like is 8 90-minute sessions, which will total 12 clinical hours that you can put towards your licensure for $450. And I think if my math is correct, that's about 55 per session, which is a pretty decent like bang for your buck. The
Hmm.
the investment that you make in your clinical license is a financial investment.
Right, right.
And the
Yeah,
group,
that's on par with what I've been researching for groups too. I don't know if that's important for you to hear, but I've been looking around and I like that.
it needs to be accessible, right? We want to be accessible. Supervision needs to be quality. There needs to be quality and accessibility to this space. And group is a great way to offload some of the financial burden of getting a clinical license, right? It is a financial investment.
Yeah,
So that's what it looks like. So
awesome.
you sign up with me. You already did your paperwork. If you want to move forward today, you let me know and I will send you the contracts through the portal. You sign them and I push a little button to charge your card on file and then I put you in the group. And if you're not ready to commit to it in this very moment, that's okay. You can send me a message through the portal or send me an email and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whatever you're feeling.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm gonna pause there. So, so viewers, obviously, I'm gonna check in with Jenny on some of the things that she felt was most important in her consult. But just taking in, like, here's logistics, here are expectations, some things kind of going forward, which I really like as a Type A person. What are your thoughts on what people need to include in a consult? So you just role played that with
Um,
us. What are some of the key factors they should make sure they're incorporating into the call?
So filling out the paperwork ahead of time through the portal is really, really, really helpful because then I know where you went to school, when you graduated. If you're a social worker, are you a candidate or are you licensed? If you're an LPC or an MFT, you're a candidate. Are you registered with DORA? Do you have a job where you can accrue hours? Do you have on-site supervision? Like those things that are in the paperwork give me a lot of information already. So to you can come to the consultation ready to see if we're a good fit for each other, right? If
Mhm.
all of the logistical stuff is already out of the way, I can already see that. I can ask questions about it if I need clarification. But what I really want to know is my style going to be a good fit? Are you going to get your needs met in my style of how I do group? And also, are you a good fit for me? Right? Are you the ideal supervisee for me as well? So we're
Mhm.
both screening each other. And that's more of what I'm looking for in this brief consultation is, and if you do the paperwork ahead of time, that knocks out a big chunk of what we need to talk about.
Right. Right, streamlines a bunch of things. I like that. I imagine there might be some more like custom questions of like self-care, what does work-life balance look like, and some other things that
Oh,
might be
yes.
relevant. But yeah, I like that we were able to model, here's you checking in on the paperwork, which I think shows as a supervisee that you actually read it, which is always nice, right? And like reference it. Same for our clients when we're doing therapy. If like you ask for some intake forms to be filled out, like let's reference them and show them we actually took the time to read
Yeah.
them. Different soapbox, but yeah. Um, so for folks who are like, I really like your style, or maybe they have some additional questions for you, where can they find you, Jenny?
So you can, so my private practice is Gennaro Counseling, so you can always find me through my website, and I do contract clinical supervision through Bethany Robb's site, which is Colorado LCSW Supervision, and the website. There's a portal there. You just like you did today. You go to the portal, you say I'm a new client, you click on it, you find my name, and you schedule time through the portal to meet with me. And then when you schedule that, I send you that paperwork to do. You get that done beforehand. It's really easy.
Yeah, super easy, especially because that was something you suggested I do just to have the full experience. So
Hmm.
I like that. Yeah, so I'll put some of your links below so people can find you both in your private practice and in the contracted role of clinical supervisor. Thank you so much, Jenny, for making the time to demonstrate this. I'm hopeful people are going to feel inspired to be like, yep, I need to factor these things in, or oh, I have more questions. I can reach out to you. But just because I haven't seen this like modeled anywhere online, I'm really hopeful this is going to help people feel more prepared. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. Viewers, stay tuned for more role plays. We'll see you in a future video. See you then.